Chainsaw Man.
Wow.
I love this
Just,
series.
Like, can we just give Denji MC of the Year award? God
So
damn.
I have a lot to say about this.
This is going to be a long boy. So
I don't know if it'll be a long boy, because I mean I have a lot to say, but it's a lot to say about like one thing. So like I don't know. I imagine a normal sized, but yeah. So for me, the main thing I want to talk about here is, and a lot of this is up to interpretation. Maybe different people will read it in different ways. I'm curious on David's interpretation of it, but my take on this is Denji really is a man searching desperately for happiness, and he doesn't know what happiness is, what brings it, how to get it, etc. I've been dealing with this a lot recently as I get older and older, and the nihilism begins to set in, and you start, feeling that like nothing feels permanent. No, like happiness feels fleeting constantly. This shit hit me hard, where like he's kind of giving in to this idea that happiness is just add more on top of it, right? So in the beginning, all I want is toast with jam on it and just to have a girlfriend and cuddle with her and play video games, and that would make me happy. But now that doesn't make him happy, you know what? Fuck it. No, I don't want toast with jam. I want steak every morning, and I want 5, no 10 girlfriends. I want to have sex all the time. This is a guy who...
I'm going to stop you right there, Denji. That's not fun. Your dick does hurt after a while.
Yeah, and like... David, I know David's. We'll get to like more jokey stuff in the future, but this shit's genuinely like I can't even bring myself to joke about this because this shit hit me hard. Because this is what people do. It's a very simplified version, like with no nuance, because Denji is stupid. But this is essentially the no-brained way of thinking about what brings happiness. You think you need more constantly. This is why rich people buy fucking 12 houses and 13 cars, and and they just go to orgies. You know what I mean? Not to say all rich people. You know what I mean? This is why people do this. They surround themselves with things that give you fleeting happiness, and it's just like drug addiction. It's a constant escalation. And this is just watching this character fucking fully break down, and it was really depressing to me. And in a way that this series always does, like any other series, by now you would have had the moment where Denji realizes that he's been wrong, his outlook on life is wrong, and true happiness is something greater and deeper. But in this series, that always is subverting that, and with this main character, that's always subverting how main characters typically act. He has not realized it, and instead has gone even deeper into these base carnal instincts that he thinks is going to make him happy. And just... I don't know, I've had a lot of conversations recently with people about these very things, especially with attempting to make a relationship work and stuff. And, sometimes, at least with me, I overthink everything. So the second I get any happiness, my first thought is, how is this going to get ruined? How am I going to fuck this up? Is the human brain inevitably going to take this thing that's great and start not liking it anymore? And because you know what I mean? Like, that's just all these thoughts I have. And it just seems like, I don't know, Denji, he's at that point where he's realizing it's the grass is always greener on the other side. No matter what you have, you're always going to think you need more for happiness. And I guess I'll end it off by saying this, and I'll hand it over to David here. It's just, this has been a constant thought on my mind lately. It just, when I was younger, I always had something to blame my unhappiness on. Oh, it's because I'm always in school and I don't have any free time. Oh, it's because I'm awkward at school and I don't have any friends. And then I got friends, and you still feel depressed. Weird. Oh, well, maybe it's because I work so many hours and I have no free time there. Oh, wait, did you just take a fucking week off and you're still depressed? How about when you got that surgery and you had a whole month and a half off? Still depressed? Guess it's not that. And then you start to realize, man, what the fuck is happiness? It's fleeting. How do we keep it? How do we get it? It's just little chunks of momentary bliss. I don't know. That's what this fucking shit made me think of. It made me go into this deep shit, and it actually really made me emotional. And Denji here is just a man who is finally having his first existential crisis, getting out of this moment of, his whole life has been fighting for survival. And now that he's finally able to start thinking deeper past that, like, what would make me happy? Happiness used to be just not dying, just having enough to eat. But now that I have options, now that I see there's popularity, people like me, so many women like me, I want to just jump into that and hope that makes me happy. So yeah, and I guess last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, there's so much to say here, is it reminds me of, like, there are people that theorize that, humanity, when you look at like how evolution works and shit, like are we this weird like amalgamation middle zone that should have never existed, right? Where it's like, animals, they live on their base like instincts and desires. They don't have depression because they're just all about fucking like, the eat, sleep, fuck, right? And humans, we love shit like art and music and finding higher purpose in our life, but we still have those animalistic eat, sleep, fuck desires. And I feel like they fucking conflict with each other. You know what I mean? Like one does not mesh as well with it. Sometimes they do, but like, it's just so sad because I know that I'm the happiest when I focus on those deeper things like art and creating shit and traveling and friendship. But then like your dumb fucking idiot like animalistic desires come in and ruin it always. So I guess that's just the thoughts that came to my head when reading that first scene. Go ahead, David.
So yeah, I have a lot to say about this as well. That's why I said this is going to be a long-ass episode for us.
At least rambly.
Yeah, well, rambly, but that's like our version of long. That's our chalky boy. Like, there's a whole fucking lot to digest here, and this makes a lot of the earlier series just feel like symbolism in a nutshell, right? Because you had that moment where Denji's throwing all the toppings onto his breakfast,
Yes.
Just that, like, I want more, not for the sake of creating something very beautiful and tasty, like some goddamn thing that Chef Mike would create. No, just simply because I have all of the options here. And then you come down to, like, this moment in this chapter where he's like, I want steak, even though it makes no fucking sense. I want to fuck. I want to do all these things. Screw just having friends and having moments of, like, this temporary bliss. Cue the cab temporary bliss over in the background. No DMCA complaint. Think about it.
It's a good song. Look up Momentary Bliss by Gorillaz.
Or Temporary Bliss by The Cab.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of... I thought you were talking about Momentary Bliss.
No.
The new... Oh, okay. It's from the new album.
Temporary Bliss dives more into the, like, sex for the sake of sex. More like situationships instead of, like, relationships, which a lot we'll get into now.
Yeah, there's we could do so much better than this. Mausoleum faces and Momentary Bliss. We could do so much better than this.
Like, there's a lot of that just nihilism dove into here with Denji realizing that he doesn't have any fucking human idea of what happiness is, and in a way, humans don't have any fucking idea what happiness really is.
Seriously, like I said, this really did hit me. I needed this chapter right now because, like, as David can attest, I messaged him earlier today. I've been, I don't know, depression hit me like a truck today, like specifically. And I'm really happy to be talking with you and filming these because it does make me feel a lot better, David. And it is really like this. Like, the older I get, the more I can't attach my feelings of depression to, like, any substantive reason. It's just there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think there is a natural response to want to respond to that depression with things that you assume will make you feel better. Like for me, a lot of time, like, this is going to get into TMI territory, but I feel like it's really real. Sometimes I know a lot of people do, and sometimes I do this as well. They respond to it with, like, excessive masturbation. You know what I mean? Like, let me just get a little hit of dopamine. You know, like, maybe this will snap me out of my depression. Never does. You know?
No, like, I can attest to that. Like, it's either filling your life with retail therapy, which
buying a bunch of shit,
which in of itself is financially and downright just stupid, but I do it. I'm guilty of it. Or, well, let's go to the hub, rub one out. Fills it for a few minutes and then just like, no. Or just sex for the sake of sex. That is something that is readily available for most people and is just there simply for the fact that I want to feel something. And that's the state at which Denji is at, and our audience retention just fucking tanked.
No, I mean, if that's not if I don't know, if they're not down for that, then why the fuck are you here? like
at this point, we are the Chainsaw Man channel, and if
I like to think so. That might be a little fucking presumptuous of us.
I mean, it's us, Rex the Hero, and fucking Kid Otaku. That's all you're getting for Chainsaw Man.
I heard, I don't know if he still is. I heard Mr. Moores was doing some. It's like he was a famous One Piece analysis channel, and I think he's been jumping into it as well.
Well, I mean, there went our view count.
No, this was months ago, and it hasn't really affected our view count. So.
Good. We're still the Chainsaw Man channel then. Fuck you guys.
Well, we will send professional assassins to Mr. Moores if he starts taking our / sarcasm.
We will Unis Honest re-upload that shit.
Ooh, yes.
Rip. But no, like, legitimately, like, diving into that depression aspect of things, like, 2020 has been that, like, realization that depression really can't be attached to any one thing. Because most people have had all the free time in the fucking...
Yes, bro, exactly.
Like, if you were not an essential worker in 2020, you had that lockdown phase where, like, you could sit and binge all the shows. Your rent was frozen. You didn't have to fucking do anything. You could sit there, Uber Eats, whatever, just sit there, get fat, and do whatever the fuck you wanted. And realistically, like, statistically proven that, like, depression and going to therapy have become the end thing this year, because you realize that you can't just blame your employment. You can't blame your fucking spouse, your partner. You can't really put the blame on anything other than your own fucked up mind.
I do want to clarify, in certain instances, like if you're working 60, 70 hours a week and you're making minimum wage, and like, yes, that you're going to get some depression from that for sure. You know what I mean? And
that's not the sole reason.
Exactly. Yeah. The point we're trying to make here is that, like, you can't just blame outside influences. And you know, do you mind, David, if we jump into a bit of a real example from your life and our life?
You can go ahead. I am content at this point.
When we were roommates, both of us got to a point where we both assumed that, you know, we lived together for maybe like half a year, and we both assumed, like, oh, we're miserable because like, I love David, but like sometimes, you know, best friends are best friends because you're not spending every second with each other. So we got to a point, I remember, where I think both of us assumed that we were depressed because we were, or angry or annoyed because we were living with them. And I remember, I assume you had this experience too, when we went our separate ways to not live with each other anymore. You're like, oh, it wasn't really that at all, was it?
It wasn't. Like, there was the annoyance of, like, all of our little habits colliding. And
I do want to say I think I'm a lot better of a person now. I cringe at past Red. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I cringe at past David, too. I cringe at current David, too. I mean, I literally bought a fucking maid outfit for content. I'm like, what have I become?
That's good cringe, though.
But, like, no, like, all of our habits and being so goddamn similar is why I feel like our friendship is the way it is better while we're not living with each other.
I think that goes for almost any human, you know? And, like, in fact, that actually ties perfectly into this Denji thing, right? And it's something that's fucked me up for so long, and I hate it because, like, it's paradoxical in nature, and I hate it so much. But, like, something that you like, right? Like, let's say a girlfriend, let's say sex, let's say your favorite food, right? You think, I like this thing, I should get as much of it as I can. Your instincts tell you that. But when you overindulge, it ruins it. If you are clingy to your girlfriend, she's going to get annoyed. If you're clingy to a friend, they're going to get annoyed. If you have too much sex, it's going to get old. If you eat too much food, if you eat too much food, you're going to puke. And all this to say, that's what Denji represents that in character form. And in fact, like, the whole eat too much food, you puke, maybe that's why there's so much puking in this series. Like, if I'm going to go all fucking Map Pat game theory here, like all kidding aside, maybe that is, like, the deep message that we're going for here. Like, overindulgence is not happiness, and it's going to make you puke.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, Denji is that simple base instinct character, and it works so beautifully for him because he's such a simple boy. You see, his brain really hasn't aged.
And how could it with the fucking upbringing he had? The lack of an upbringing.
Exactly. He basically raised himself. His dad left him with this massive pile of debt, going from devil hunting to selling organs to basically humanized prostitution by taking bits and pieces of himself to pay off this massive debt to the fucking mafia, and just literally living the worst possible life. he had no real education. He's mentioned that he'd never been to school. When he was with Rize in those few chapters, you've seen that he has no real adult brain power. So
it's
he
really
goes,
fucking depressing and dark. And it's funny how, like, this series, it started out so... I remember my perception of Denji in the beginning was like, ha, he's such a funny character. He just wants titties. But no, like, this whole time it's just been like, this is an adult man with the mind of a child who was never taught about the deeper, finer things in life. You know, what true happiness really is. You know, I'll just give you a good example from, like, 30 minutes ago. I was watching the new Ruby episode, and I was watching the opening of it. And you know the end of the new opening in Ruby with like the cool stylistic, like, happily ever after with like the fucking those colors and shit.
yeah,
I saw that shit, and I got the urge to take a video of it and send it to Andrew, who used to be a Ruby fan, but hasn't watched it in a while, and just kind of say, like, I love the style of this, I love the art of this, and that gave me, like I smiled really quick, like, for the first time all day, basically, because I've been just kind of not feeling it today, and I was like, that right there, that little feeling I had of, like, I love this on an artistic level, I want to share it with a friend, and I want to talk about why I like it, that right there is what brings me happiness.
absolutely. Like, there is that sharing something with a friend, that moment of just pure happiness where you can sit there and be like, shoot the shit with somebody. That's something that really Denji just now got the fucking a bit of, like,
with power, and then boop, gone.
like, torso shot in half and then brought back, killed again.
And you can kind of look at the previous couple chapters too, with, like, you know, the way I look at Denji, it keeps changing. It's really, really well done. With that scene in the dumpster where Power's like, did you really miss me that badly that you just became like this fucking mess? And he's like, I did. And again, I did not expect him to say that in that moment. I really didn't. I knew he missed her, but I didn't know it was, like, to the level of, like, you being gone and you being gone alone is what's putting me in this. I think Power really did become one of his first, like, just genuine friends. And I think going back even further, the chapter where he chose to not, you know, like, make it a sexual thing with her. You remember that chapter?
Yeah.
Like he could have, but he realized he didn't want to. Like,
Absolutely.
God, it's all fucking coming together. I love this fucking shit. It really is all retroactively coming together. That chapter where Denji's like, it's weird to me. Why don't I want to fuck her? Why am I not attracted to her? Why am I not getting this, like, lustful feeling, right? Because he attaches horniness and the sexual shit to happiness. Just like he attaches eating the steak and putting all the ingredients on the bread and yada, yada, yada. That's what he looks at as happiness. So I think he was confused as to why he didn't feel that with Power, yet he still enjoyed being with her. You know, that was his first little inkling of learning of a happiness beyond carnal desires. And then right as he was learning that, Power took her away. Or not Power, excuse me. Makima took her away. Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, it all ties back to our feeling that we are nearing the end game, because now just shooting across to the fucking end of this chapter.
This
really quick.
has final battle written all over it. I know I said that before, but look at the fucking setting. Look at the set piece. Look where they're standing, bro.
Like, I want to theorize for a moment, Rad. Just indulge me.
For sure, for sure.
So, we're not technically at the end game, per se. We are definitely in the final battle, like the final, like, boss battle before the secret boss. There's still going to be that going back.
This is Zant in Twilight Princess before Ganon.
Yeah, this is literally just going down and just the final battle where you get all the players together. This is like the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 before the final battle. You're fighting at the Keyblade Graveyard right now, and you're just trying to fucking survive. Right before you go and kill Xehanort. This is literally, well, you don't really kill because Disney power of friendship bullshit, but no, but, like, you really just, you love to see things like this. The whole Denji just propped up on his chainsaws on the cross just gives me the, like, big dick energy vibes here of the final battle. Why I'm thinking this is we're going to have this fight with Makima and her 7 simps. and then we're going to have the go down to hell and try to save the Blood Devil. And then we're going to get the Fujimoto no, fuck you and fuck your happiness moment.
Mm-hmm.
Where all of that's going to be like, and he's dead.
I don't know. It's possible. I feel like there's going to be, however it ends, I think it's going to have a deep message about. I'm starting to realize now from this chapter, it's always been a central theme, but now I'm starting to think the whole story is meant to tell this one story of, this one theme of happiness and true happiness and what is happiness. That's because I'm thinking of all these moments. Like, do you remember when he was at the vending machine and he was talking about, like, would I feel anything if these people died? And, like, I'm feeling less and less human yet every day. Like, there's been little moments like this throughout the whole series. Think about Kishibe talking to Puke Girl about people that like still feel emotions shouldn't have this job. It's all about emotions and happiness and yada yada yada. So I think however it does end, it's going to be some deep message about, if he does die, it'll probably be like, the message will probably be like, don't do what Denji did. Don't fucking look at life like he did. But I'm hoping he at least learns a lesson beforehand. It might be one of those things where he dies, but like he dies happy. Like he dies, but like he dies with power in hell, and he's okay with that. Something like that. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have that. The whole theme of the series has been finding your true happiness, finding your bliss, your little slice of heaven, if you will. And that's a beautiful theme for such a dark, depressing fucking series. It's almost to Goodnight Poon Poon level of like, fuck you. This is going to be a completely fucked up series, but it's going to have that deep meaning. You're also could even go to like the super wacky bullshit of Fully Cooley in some of the battles, but everything having that overarching meaning.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a quote from Doctor Who that I genuinely try to live by this. It's hard to remember, but I just looked it up. It goes, the way I see it, every life is a pile of good things and a pile of bad things. The good things don't always soften the bad things, but vice versa. The bad things don't always spoil the good things and make them unimportant. So basically, like, yesterday, my yesterday, it was a great day. I had so much fun with my friends. I was laughing, yeah. And then this morning, I'm all sad, blah, 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 blah. But, like, I shouldn't make that all, because, like, you know how whenever you're feeling bad and feeling shitty, you immediately, like, forget every good thing ever, and you like, it's all over, the life is meaningless. Like, the point of that quote is, like, no, you're there's good things and bad things in life. Don't fucking make either one of them invalidate the other ones.
Absolutely. Like, you can have your good and your bad and make it through life and still live a normal, peaceful, happy life. You can't always be 100% either way. There's never going to be nothing but sadness, and there's always going to be moments of good piled in with the bad.
Yin yang, my friend.
Like, 2020 has proven that 100%. Like, I've had possibly both at the same time the best and worst year of my life.
Yeah, I don't even know how to fucking feel about this year anymore, man. It's crazy. Like
I've had so much happiness surrounded in all of this bullshit. And at the end of the day, I'm still depresso espresso, but I'm so goddamn content with where my life is at, especially here on this platform that we've created. As fucked as it is to say, I am so goddamn happy that this has been my one outlet for the fucking year. Between this and doing our Twitch stuff and all of the fun things, rebuilding the server, meeting all of the cool people through that, like helping people get off the ground with their own versions of content through that as well. Like,
David, would you say you're more depresso espresso or upsetty spaghetti?
Depresso espresso, because I am literally functioning solely on caffeine right now.
Okay, I guess I'm trying to think. So it's interesting here, just to kind of wrap this up. He basically says, like, yeah, the next time you turn into the Chainsaw Man in public, she's gonna suss you out and kill you. She's got keen ears and eyes, yada yada, and then immediately he does. Like, that was one hell of a shift, and it really surprised me. So, like, there's two options here. One is he just ignored Kishibe completely and just went out and did it. Two, and I'm hoping this is more likely here, I think, because there's a hell of a lot of fucking panels that are implying to me that some time passed. I hope and think that they probably had an off-screen conversation about their plan to deal with Makima. I really do. Because Denji clearly wants to kill Makima. He does say, fuck, I still have feelings for her, but I want to kill her, right?
Yeah.
So I think Denji at least would be smart enough to have the conversation with Makima, or excuse me, with Kishibe, and be like, okay, what's the plan here, right? So even though from our perspective it looks like he just bailed and like he's going at this alone, I think there's going to be a reveal, like when shit looks awful, that like Kishibe's overdoing something else. Maybe the whole killing the prime minister plan that we were talking about. I don't know. I know you wanted to bring up some comments from the last video, remember?
Yeah, I do want to bring those up.
So you do that while I get my laptop charger, okay?
All right, so the first thing I actually want to bring up is something that I had this conversation in the server today with Crucifer, one of our more common commenters, with like simply the things that could have happened off screen and potential for like different contracts that Kishibe had, because we realize that he's the top in the verse.
Mr. Top of the Verse?
Or he's claimed to be anyway.
Nah, bitch.
So we know he has the needle and the knife. I'm like, maybe he hasn't revealed his true power, kind of like Konabi or Konimbi, however you want to say your fucking name. I'm trying not to meme, but I'm also very, very tired right now. So we know that we don't know her true power. Maybe we don't know all of Kishibe's power right now, because he has such a storied history, as we've seen in like the flashback extra chapter with Quan. So I'm like, maybe we don't have the full contract. And then obviously, because of the brand we have created here, without missing a beat, this motherfucker's like the dick devil. That he's just going to
there are people scared of Dick for totally understandable reasons.
Yeah, he's just going to give fucking Makima the best dick of her life.
Yeah.
But like, no, there's literally like, I feel like we don't really know Kishibe's full power. So there's obviously like
the mere fact that he's still alive. Like, I mean, he's literally, to my knowledge, the oldest devil hunter we've seen, because I think the majority of devil hunters die in service.
Yes.
So the fact that he made it this far is very indicative of the power of this guy.
Absolutely. And so we had some theory comments too, Red.
For sure. Lay them out.
So Kazim Tackett, so there was some 10,000 IQ here in this comment. Wait, the Prime Minister, have Denji kill the Prime Minister on TV and send out that broadcast.
Yes.
That'll make the world scared of the chainsaw again, and it will break Makima's contract. It's a win-win. So we also have a comment here from somebody with the username Nobody, because that's the fucking thing on YouTube. Super annoying, but I totally get it. Like, if you have a burner account for the free trial, YouTube Premium, go for it. Eat that shit up. We don't actually know if killing him will break the contract, though. After all, Makima uses the Punishment Devil throughout the Scarred Face duo, the Snake contract through the Sawatar, and there's a chance that death does not end the contract. And we see that death doesn't seem to end the contract with her puppets. Like, she's still somehow able to tap into those fucking powers. So death really, if she puppetized the Prime Minister before, he fully passes out, that would keep that in an infinite loop, I would think.
That's true, but, like, to me, there's got to be a way. Like, I don't like villains with, like, no weakness. Because then you turn into a Sosuke Aizen, where the only way to beat him is some bullshit last-second power-up. You know what I mean?
Yep, and you just turn into a living Deus Ex Machina with, like, the butterfly form and all the other bullshit.
In general, if you look, like, think about the real life. Like, what makes the power system feel realistic is when there's always a weakness, because I find that real life has a good way of balancing itself out. No matter how impenetrable you think your defenses are, no matter how unbeatable you think your weapons are, there's always a weakness, and people always find it. You know what I mean? Think like, I'm just trying to, the Titanic is a perfect example. If people power scaled fucking ships, people would be like, Titanic OP, please nerf, because like it was literally like, this ship would be unsinkable, and almost in an act of just like, lol, bet, you want to fucking bet? The iceberg just comes in. You know? So, like,
Yeah.
I think that's what I like about Nen so much. Red's Hunter x Hunter reference of the day. Because, like, in order to get more powerful, you have to give yourself weaknesses. It's the perfect way to write a power system. Your level of power is indicative by how many self-imposed weaknesses you give yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think Makima, in order to be a good villain, she has to have some weakness somewhere. And I think that would be a good, like, I imagine, like, you could just have, like, a throwaway line, like, yes, in order, like, for a contract of this caliber that spans over, you know, like, all of the Japanese citizens, I can't just turn him into a puppet because it would require turning everyone in Japan into puppets. And even I don't have the power to do that or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everyone involved, technically, if you think about it, the entirety of Japan is involved in that contract, not just one person.
Exactly.
It's not just a person and a devil. So you could spin it like, no, I couldn't. It doesn't work with the prime minister because, you know, it's a contract with the entirety of Japan. Furthermore, if you did want to see, my writing chops are coming out. Furthermore, let's say you want to do that thing with the prime minister. They behead the prime minister, and then Makima's like, ha ha ha, just kidding. He is a puppet, and you know, it is the infinite loop thing that David said. Mwahaha. Well, maybe then we do just start wiping out the entirety of Japan. because even if it's something insane, there's got to be a weakness. So I could imagine it being like something so asinine that Makima would never expect anyone to do it. Like, all right, I guess it's time to fucking slaughter all of Japan.
And then Kishibe just goes ham.
Well, maybe not Kishibe himself, but it could be Kishibe if he had, because, like, I imagine he probably does have a power or like a contract with some devil of that caliber, or he could do a similar thing where he makes a contract with some crazy fucking devil. It's like, all right, bro, guess what I'm offering you today? I just killed the prime minister, so technically for these 3 seconds while he's dead, I'm in charge. So as the prime minister, why I give you all of Japan's citizens.
Oh, lunch, dinner, and fucking after supper.
You could do any of that wacky shit, because that's the beauty of this fucking series. Like, you just give me a throwaway line and it's believable.
Exactly. So we also have Mr. Ethan 2. Had a big brain one here. I have a feeling that Denji is just going to start killing people to make them fear him, for more to power himself up, but also make a small damn Makima 1 power. And why I say this is because, look, I was looking at the TV, about to go somewhere dark. And then I replied on this one, actually, before I decided to, you know, dive into these on video. It would make sense, just don't think he has a heart for it. And then he's replied back, I have a feeling Denji is at the start of the manga. Denji is getting his humanity. Now that's maybe the start of losing that humanity. And yeah, you can see the in that panel where Denji is just staring at the TV, that it looks like he's in that something has snapped moment.
Well, yeah, and we see the result of that in this chapter. It's his fucking, like, what will bring me happiness at this point. He sees, again, this kind of reminds me of, as someone who didn't have very much luck with the ladies for my whole life, the second just a single one is like, hey, I might like you. You're like, you turn into a fucking dog. Like, yes, mistress, anything for you. You know, it's very unfortunate, but, like, if you've been starved of something, one of those base desires for so long, you turn into a fucking animal for it. So that's how I see Denji here. I think he sees, oh my god, there's hundreds of women out there now that would fuck him easily.
Absolutely.
And he's looking at that like, this is my ticket to happiness. This here.
Yeah, it's your ticket to an STI as well.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The man can fucking come back from his head getting chopped off. I imagine he's got that Deadpool shit where his body will take care of that.
Well, that dick's infected.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Just cut the dick off. Boom. Moving on.
And then we also have Mr. or Mrs. Kirby is God. The way I'd like to see the series end would be something like this. Makima's defeated without casualties, or maybe Kishibe dies. Either way, it's not just Denji left, you know. Maybe Denji, Kobani, and or Kishibe go their separate ways, become their friends, who knows. But for sure, it would be the series ended with Denji going to hell and confronting the Blood Devil, then bam, series ends on a cliffhanger. I know some people will be upset, but I think bringing back Power for another time would kind of kill that.
I agree. I don't think Power should actually come back again.
And I replied to this one as well. It was just like, yeah, I'd like there to be some sort of consequence for the sacrifice, but at this point, I have no idea how it will end. And
It could just be the thing that we always theorize with Penny from Ruby that never ended up happening, where like the memories are just not there and she's just not fully the same anymore.
yeah, absolutely. And see, that's the danger of a series like this as well. And as much as we suck the series dick, there is that one thing that really, really does suck, and that's the lack of permanence with the devil / fiend powers. Because you can constantly reset. It might not be the same person, but it is on that infinite loop.
I don't think that's going to be that much of an issue, given because I'm still assuming this series is going to be like 100 chapters or less, basically. And yes, I technically lost the bet. We'll do something. Just remind me next time you're over at. I'm over at your house. I don't remember saying that, but I'll trust. Was it Shadow that said that?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'll do something for sure. But like I would be shocked if this series was too much longer than 100, 110 chapters. And because I do think it has to be short with the way that he's got it set up. And this whole scene here with Makima and the Simp Squad, as you call them, in this beautiful, like imagine this in the anime, bro. This is going to be gorgeous.
Is going to be one hell of a fucking series. Because...
And it was officially announced now, right? The anime?
Yes.
Yes.
This in the anime will be fucking phenomenal, and you cannot prove me wrong at this point. You cannot change my mind. This is going to be one hell of a series if it gets the right studio. And it's something we actually need to talk about in another video. But
lately, I feel it seems like every new anime I think that's something that they've learned, man. I mean, like Jujutsu Kaisen's been animated phenomenally. Even new One Piece is animated phenomenally.
I think they've learned that like there is an audience retention in that, just like there is with fucking content like this.
Yeah.
That once you have a few shitty episodes or a few shitty arcs, like people will start to drop off. And the beauty of this like seasonal anime style is like you have the chance to refine your craft. You actually polish the series off rather well. Not as long as you don't outsource it like you saw with Seven Deadly Sins, because well, like even Seven Deadly Sins as a series just kind of dropped hella off at the end. But like, and I can't wait to see people die inside when they see the ending of the fucking anime this year. But like, there is that moment of like, oh shit, people are starting to hate anime because of how we're treating it as a constant form of media.
Well, that happened with video games in the 80s, like, you know, the E.T. game and like the video game crash because it was such a hyped game and then it was so fucking bad and people were like, oh my god, I can't trust anything anymore.
And then you had the Wii where it was just shovelware central. But yeah, like...
well, that's why indie games are kind of like a much bigger medium now. Yeah.
Yeah, you get the indie gems, you get the AA games, and then you have the AAA games that are actually good. And then you have one or two games for those established franchises that actually carry on forever. Right now, for example, I'm playing Miles Morales. I'm actually blown away by how well they managed to make this expand alone, as I'd like to call it. Because it's a glorified...
That's a good phrase.
It's a glorified fucking expansion pack for Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah, but you get to play as the significantly cooler Spider-Man, so...
I mean, subjective, but...
No, bro, I'm telling... Like, literally, when I watched Into the Spider-Verse, I was like, oh my god, like, his suit's cooler, his powers are cooler.
I love the Venom powers, like the Venom Strike and shit. I'm a Spider-Man simp as it is, so you put Spider-Man in fucking anything, I will buy it. Go watch it. And, like, just playing this and just seeing how a significantly shorter life or development cycle can actually fucking work.
Yeah, but anyway, either way though, unless you have something else to say, I think we're kind of, you know, rambling here.
But just to tie that into what I was saying, like that shorter cycle in development, like that seems to work well with this newer form of like 1-core, 2-core anime. As much as I shit on it, and you'll see bits and pieces of it in the blooper reel, like as much as I shit on it for a good 5 minutes, like even SAO's anime has a style with it. and like Jujutsu Kaisen now has that really well polished style for a shorter anime. Even Black Clover, one of the anime that was like universally hated when it first came out because of how it was fucking handled. You see it find its own audience, find its own like fucking beauty in it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they've actually started to treat it like, oh shit, if we don't stop this.
Yeah, all this to say, with how popular Chainsaw Man as a manga has been skyrocketing to the top of the fucking, like, selling. Like, people feel the same way as we do, David, about this series. It's not just like us. It's not like we've found this niche thing. Like, a lot of people realize, like, how creative and unique this shit is. And it's incredibly popular, so I can only imagine they're going to treat it like unless in the past I feel like they were dumber because they thought they could get away with anything, but like people are demanding higher animation quality now, and I feel like unless it's like a nameless thing, like that the last anime I saw that was really badly done was the French one, Radiant. And that was because it doesn't really have a huge fan base. It's kind of underground, right? But I think if it's like hella popular, like it's been a long time since I've seen a very popular series get like an anime adaptation that sucked. I think they've really been on a good streak.
Because I know you're going to get called out for it. The Promised Neverland's adaptation was dog shit.
I had only seen one episode of it. I didn't think it was dog shit. I just thought they made some dumb decisions. I thought the animation was good. I just didn't like from the one episode I saw. I don't know if it's dog shit level. From the one episode I saw, I just thought that it was dumb how they were taking things that were inner monologues and choosing to have them say them out loud, and then therefore things that have to be inner monologues they would just cut out for whatever reason. I didn't understand that decision at all.
So the whole Ray reveal was completely fucked. That was the moment that the fan base is like, they kind of ruined it. Yeah. So I knew you were going to get called out in the comments for it. So I'm just like, I'm going to save you that embarrassment. That's one of the ones that's pretty universally
right.
And other than that, like everything else has been handled rather well. It's been super mainstream, super like above ground. You have those underground like indie anime that end up on Netflix that are hit or miss.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty confident. The ones that come out of Japan recently, I think I'm pretty confident that they're going to be well made. Especially, I think Chainsaw Man specifically, I think they're going to put a fuck ton of budget into Chainsaw Man.
They are, and like the only other
they're basically like sucking Fujimoto's dick at this point. Like he's the man of the hour at this point. Like they even gave fucking I remember this was a rumor, but I'm gonna trust it because it come from a reliable source. Even Fire Punch is gonna get an anime.
That's the Yonko one.
Yeah, and Yonko is typically right, and he was the first person to say that Chainsaw Man was getting an anime.
And he also did mention that Spy X Family was getting an anime down the road too. So I'm going to look forward to that one when that's actually officially.
Point being, I've never seen a dick sucking this hard over an author, and I think that like I have a feeling that they know that this guy's writing style is something that people really like. So I feel like they're going to treat his property with respect, much like when Oda was like, "Hey, I'm really trusting the anime to do a good job with Wano." All of a sudden, they got their act together.
Yeah, and I think that's just Oda coming in and flopping his dick on the desk and like, "You will suck."
I mean, he just had to flex his muscles there because I think he was getting a little. I'm guessing he had heard it too. This is all me reading into it, but like, yeah, it's weird how magically good they got finally in Wano.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we need. We need authors to flex their goddamn muscles. Because we cannot let this media die.
Well, I assume authors are. I'm not too sure what goes into the contract making process of like getting an anime, but like if I was an author, I'd make very clear like none of this cheap shitty bullshit. Like take your time with it. I'd like it to be good, rather. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't sell my shit over unless it was seasonal. Like I want this. I don't want filler. I don't want fucking. Like shitty. I don't want you changing shit unless you fucking call me first. Type shit like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing I want to say on this alone is when this gets an anime, I definitely do want to cover it, just like we want to do with the
absolutely
arc, because there is going to be a massive traction for those first few episodes, and that will be the deciding factor for like where this series will fully go down across media. Because if it is handled phenomenally. This is going to be a cornerstone of modern shonen. This will be on the level of your My Hero Academias, your Jujutsu Kaisens, etc., etc. And if it is handled poorly, then it is going to fall down into your Promised Neverlands.
No, I don't think it would fall into problem because at least it would have a good manga. Like it would be it would be like a Tokyo Ghoul where the manga is great but the anime is shitty.
Yeah.
Promised Neverland, even the manga was shitty after a while.
But I was using that as like a modern standard. I still consider Tokyo Ghoul like a ascending before a shonen.
Right, but my point is, even if it it could have the shittiest anime of all time, that wouldn't taint my view of the series because I know how good the manga is, but it would affect how popular it ends up being. Obviously,
it will affect how popular it is, but you seem to forget that there are those anime onlys that will be the major detractors too.
Yes, obviously, but that nothing I said was incorrect there. I just said it would not affect my view of the series, but it would affect how generally popular it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our viewpoint will always be like this was a godsend for the time it was here, but that ranking in society will definitely be affected.
No, I have zero fears. I'm like almost not even scared about it being bad. Like I don't see any world, especially now that we live in a world where if fan outcry is loud enough, shit changes. Like remember how the Sonic movie shit?
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't think the Chainsaw Man fans will let this shit be bad. Like I think they'll fucking riot.
We will.
We'll bring chainsaws.
And with that,
Peace.